My name is Samantha Hutchins, and this is my Master of Science in Education Teacher Commitment. To me, this means I am educated about best practices regarding education. I serve as a leader amongst my colleagues, students, and community. While I may be abreast of the latest research, theories, and best practices today, I am humble enough to understand that I will need to embrace new research as it comes. What have I learned throughout the course of this program? I've learned that kids learn best when they are able to grapple with new information in authentic contexts that cater to their unique sociocultural interests and needs. The best way that I've found to do this is through project-based learning. Project-based learning has allowed me to put many of the theories and ideas I've learned about in this program into my practice. For example, project-based learning includes all of the components of the whole brain targeted teaching model, differentiation through student choice, flexible seating, etc. Also, it promotes student relationships by finding their interests and working with those, in addition to many of the different habits of mind. Some of my class's successful projects that have been inspired through project-based learning include fraction game creations. Students were given a list of fraction-based standards and had to create a game that challenged players to solve fractional operations. They also created tiny fairy houses. This is where students engineered, designed, and built tiny houses that could be livable for fairies. They performed decimal operations and calculated the volume of their properties. Also, this year, we have been working on a field trip to space. So we started with scholars learning some scientific history on rocket launches before we started to project into the future, hypothetically speaking, and they were calculating the cost of a field trip to space. They had to work really hard to prepare for this fictitious trip while integrating different art, ELA, and math skills. This is an example of one of the outcomes from our fraction game project. This student was inspired by Candyland, so he created his own game called Fractionland. On the windowsill here, you can see the many different varieties of small houses that my students completed. And finally, on this page, you can see some of my student work from our decimal shopping project. On this project, students were asked to bring in different advertisements from their local grocery stores. This is when we were learning about rounding. So one of the activities that went along with this project were finding the prices of the items and then rounding them and making estimates about the total cost of the shopping trip. This also involves some decimal multiplication because if some of the items were sold by the pound, for example, fruit and chicken, the students had to multiply the number of units that they needed by the price. Finally, this is some student work from our field trip to space project. The student was comparing two different field trips that she was interested in that she found in the text, one of them being the theme park on Saturn and another one being the Jupiter Space Fair. As you can see from the text, she found the different costs for food and entry for both adults and children. She then multiplied by the quantity of people that we had going on our trip, and she ultimately found the total cost. Now, this did lead into her creating a double bar graph and writing a descriptive essay. In addition, all of this part of the project was done with technology in an annotation program titled Kami. So she was able to share all this with me paperlessly within Google Classroom. As this year concludes and as I finish this program, I want to keep helping move my students, school, and community forward. So, what's next for me? Next year, I will become an ESOL teacher so I can increase my impact as the all-inclusive educator that I am aspiring to become. In addition, in the fall, I plan to return to JHU for my Admin 1 certificate so that I can continue building my leadership skills. Also, I plan to join a planning committee and learn how to open a new school. I would like to become a board director for an urban school within Baltimore City. And finally, I would like to open my own urban charter school. When I do open my own school, I would like my school to be built on three founding principles. I want it to be all about student relationships because they are everything to me, experiential learning, because I believe experiential learning is the most effective kind of learning. And I believe that that can really be done through project based learning, especially in the last phase where the students get to publish to the community what they've created. And finally, I want my school to be 100% inclusive because it's 2019 and I believe that we need to be able to accommodate all different types of learners, no matter what learning disabilities they may have or what language barriers they may have. I would like everyone to be able to be learning in the same environment in one big classroom. Thank you for listening.